Hey guys, so there I was browsing through Marketplace and I came across this ad. 7 hard disks and towers is what it says, all work. So I contacted a guy who wanted 50, we agreed to 25 and off I went to pick them up. It was dark and cold when we met and he only showed up with 4. I did tell him to keep the printers because I have no interest in those, but in the end for $25 I just took a chance on the 4 that he brought. So let's see if it worked out. Okay. The first one up is a Sony Vaio. It's missing a bunch of parts, filthy and rusty. Just looking at the case makes me want to go get another tetanus shot. As you can see from looking at the outside, it spent a lot of time around moisture. Checking out the inside, it appears to be pretty abused as well. I really have no high hopes for this PC at all. Even a CPU, if good, is pretty worthless. I mean, I've got stacks of these P4s here in the shop. Well, let's get it disassembled and see what's what. I see some of the forest has made its way in, along with this little doohickey here. So I'm just going to continue to pull out what may be good. After all, I'm 25 bucks in the hole. Taking a look over the main board, it looks pretty grungy, and then there's this gross mess here that I don't even want to know what it is. So there's only one way to tell if this is any good, so let's find out. As you can see, it's not going well at all. I mean, I'm part swapping even though I already know that this isn't going to work. And after not a whole lot of time, I officially just declare it dead. Alright, up next is a Celeron powered medium PC. The front doesn't look terrible, but wait, this is probably the grossest PC that I've ever seen. I mean, I'm tempted to just toss it right outside, but you know, that 25 bucks. I see some kind of rodent called this PC home. This one is bad. I don't usually wear gloves in the shop, but you bet I am with this one. I'd really like to avoid Ebola or whatever it is that you catch from rodent shit. So I'm pretty sure this one will be DOA, but I'm going to pull the main board anyway. Anything else I pull out of here is going right into a trash bag. Alright, main board is out. Let's see if it's rabid or not. Well, surprisingly, it powered right up. I'm waiting to see video output, but nothing so far. Thinking it might be onboard graphics not working, but I don't know. Alright, so I did try GPU, also swap RAM and CPU, and still nothing. I might have to revisit this one later after I'm done disinfecting it. Alright, so I also got this little eMachine Slim PC with everything packed inside there, and I can't really tell the condition until I get it apart. It seemed to be going well. I didn't notice much wrong at this point, just getting everything out of the way. But then the more I see of the motherboard, I can start to see corrosion. If you look here, you can see a big spot of corrosion next to the RAM slot, and there are other spots pretty much all over. On the bottom of the board, there are definite signs that it was wet. At this point, I'm not even going to test this board. I'm just going to pull the CPU, test that later along with the RAM. Even the heatsink mounting has rust on it. But the good news is I recovered an AM2 Athlon, so hopefully that's still good. And looking at the board now, it's pretty obvious why I'm not even going to plug this thing in. Okay, last and hopefully not least, this is a Compaq Presario PC, still looks to be intact. The inside even looks pretty clean. This isn't a bad PC for Compaq. It's a socket 939 Asus motherboard, PCI Express and SATA, and hopefully it all works. Taking a closer look, this thing is pristine compared to the previous ones. Hell, it's pristine compared to half the PCs people bring into the shop here. I'm starting to get a little bit excited, honestly. I'm going to tear this one down as well, and then we can test it out. I'm tossing out the power supply though, but because I just don't like gambling with old used PSUs. Alright, mainboard's out, power's up with a RAM beep. That's a good sign for sure. I'll figure out quick if we have a bad stick just by removing them one at a time. And there we go, we had a bad stick of RAM. Okay, so I spent a little time just going over all the parts and everything looks good. It boots the BIOS no problem. Making sure the PCI Express slot works, and yeah, I mean, there's my 25 bucks right there. We can set up no problem. We'll have to replace the battery, but hell, I'm ready to install an OS and really test this out. So this system has 2 gigs of DDR and a Sempron 3200 plus CPU, which is most likely not going to be staying in here. Alright, we got it all ready for some preliminary testing. I installed 2 gigs of Corsair DDR400, which will probably not run at that speed with Sempron, And for a GPU, I just installed a Radeon HD 4550, which may be pretty lame, but remember we're also running a single core 1.8 gigahertz Sempron, so I'm sure it won't be holding anything back. I installed an operating system on a 7200 RPM SATA drive, and for this test I installed MX Linux since the USB stick was handy and I was pretty much lazy. It installed no problem, and it's 64-bit, so I'll be able to get a Cinebench R15 number later. I know I won't be able to install 64-bit Windows 10 on the CPU, but maybe later I can try 64-bit Windows 7. I did turn off compositing, so there's no transparencies or animations on the desktop, but that was the only tweak that I've done. Otherwise, this is an out-of-the-box install. The only other thing that I installed on here was Steam. This certainly isn't the lightest distro, but I think anything modern is really going to tax the CPU anyways. It was perfect for 2006 with Windows XP if all you did was go on the internet and check your email. So let's send it anyways and see what happens. Alright, so we got Steam up, and we're going to load up Tomb Raider Legend, which also happens to be from 2006. As you can see, it's not a very good experience at all. This is more of a system shakedown anyway, so that's okay. I'm pretty sure that the CPU is a bottleneck more than anything else on this system. Next up, we'll try Half-Life 2 from 2004, but I should mention that, like Tomb Raider Legend, this is a Steam version, so it's probably been updated. It's probably a little more CPU intensive and GPU intensive than the original. I mean, it's terrible, but I think we're going to add a few upgrades in the future. And finally, we're going to throw in a Cinebench R15 run for shits and giggles, and mainly so I can get a lower score than I got in my last video after claiming I was never going to be able to beat it. Alright, there we go. Anyways, look for a video on the system in the future. I'm happy I got something for my 25 bucks in the end. You guys stay warm, and we'll see you on the next one.